I'm reviewing the 859 Chapter 4 lesson, and I've gone through all of your material and read student postings. And I think that you all agreed that Kent Mann's video is really a good video, and that it kind of took you through the steps, and you can almost, I hope, visualize what it's like to have a student hearing, and Kent has a lot of experience with it, so it was a good person to follow. We talked a lot about the Nebraska Student Discipline Act, and I think most of you understand what it is, and that there's a lot of illustrations of types of crimes or behavior that can be a reason for suspension or expulsion. It really was important, I think, that you understand the differences between the short-term suspension and the procedures that need to take place, and what would be a long-term, which was more than 5 days, and what that and the expulsion. You do need to know that Nebraska, the textbook often says 10 days. Nebraska is more stringent for the administrator, and that if it's 5 days or more, or more than 5 days, then the requirements of a hearing and the long-term suspension go into effect. The definition of a firearm, I don't think there's a problem there. The only thing I would be aware that it is, there's a difference between a weapon and a firearm. And I had a superintendent call me once, and a student had a knife and wanted to expel him, or thought he had to expel him. And I said, you know, it's not a weapon, it's a firearm that you have to consider doing for a year. I'm looking at Jason's paper, and he did a nice job with it. We talked about modifying, and one of the things we wanted the people to remember is that the last day of a semester, or the last 10 days, if a student gets in real trouble, why you can send it to the next semester, which in all other cases, basically, discipline cannot go beyond the semester except the issue with the firearm. But this rule made it so the last day of school, a kid can't do something inappropriate and then not be disciplined because he's leaving for the semester anyway. Let's see. The question about the minor student being removed, just have to remember you have to contact the parents and notify them of who has picked up their student and where they can be located. And if it's a child abuse investigation, then of course you would not contact the parent. The procedures that I asked you to talk about in the last question regarding a student that hit another is you just have to make sure that it's investigated. And one of the things that some of you left out, if it's a serious injury, then it has to be reported, you know, to the police, because that's a crime, and if it's physical violence, and you have to use some judgment on that. One of the things that we did when I was superintendent is we would, you know, just about everything you're supposed to report to the police, we would send an email to the police, and if they thought it was worth investigating, they'd come up and investigate the crime. But the Nebraska Student Discipline Act is really can be your Bible as far as any suspension. It gives you step-by-step information, and I think understanding it can be very helpful. I did mention to announcements about students getting assignments done, and I just want to emphasize that really is important to me. I have a passion for people who are going to be first-year principals, and that's one of the expectations that you'll have if you are principals, that you'll have those materials and items on time. So we'll go on now to Chapter 5.